There are only 4 teams remaining in BBR playoffs, yours truly being one of them, facing Amel, and today we're going to talk about the different matchups. The 4 teams remaining are the Graveyard, coached by J-Bear, of course the LA Wakers, coached by Pokeaim, we have myself, Portland Nightshaders, and then Amel, the Montreal Scroopies. I'm not going to talk too in-depth about mine and Amel's matchup, just a little brief overview about what happened last time and what I expect to happen this time, because we haven't played yet. And I want to get this video up to you guys hopefully Wednesday afternoon, but I'm not going to go super in depth because obviously I don't want to give Amel any ideas. And then we'll talk a lot more about the J-Bear and Pokeaim matchup, which I believe is happening tonight, the day I'm recording this, or maybe tomorrow. So I don't know the results of either of these matches at this point in time. Let's go ahead and just give a brief overview of mine and Amel's matchup. I'm going to be honest, Amel is a fantastic player, nothing but respect to him, one of my favorite builders in the community, but his team sucks. His team just sucks. He has Dragonite, and then he has a lot of bad Pokemon. Zoroark does really well into us, as he found out last time, but obviously it has a really hard time locking into a move. And then Life Orb, it takes residual that it really doesn't want to take because I have so many different Pokemon that outspeed it and pressure it that way. So Zoroark has a good matchup, but also a little bit tough to lock it into an item. And then Dragonite's really good, but I think that we have one of the best Dragonite matchups in the league. I really do. So I think our team matches up really well into his. I think his team's just not very good, and he's going to have to get very creative to win this matchup. I think it's like 80-20 in my favor, just strictly based on matchup, like 80-20 in my favor. And Amel is a very creative builder. I do expect something crazy on his end because he needs it to win this matchup, and he knows it. He definitely knows it because we kind of handedly won last time. Obviously, the score was, I think, 3-0, but our team is just a little bit overwhelming for Amel's team. I do expect a couple of different Pokemon. I don't expect the exact same team he brought last time, and you shouldn't expect the exact same team that we brought last time. So that's all I'll say about that matchup. I do think it's in our favor. I do think Amel has to bring something very creative in order to win this matchup. J-Bear and Pokeaim. Pokeaim arguably the best battler in the league this season, and J-Bear arguably the best team in the league this season. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup. A matchup I know a lot of people were probably looking forward to. Aim's team, if you do not remember, it's on screen right now. There we go. I had the wrong thing selected. It shouldn't matter. Aim's team, for those of you that do not know, it's on the top right-hand corner of your screen right now. Palafin, Iron Treads, Espathra, Meowscarada, Sylveon, Tauros, Paldea, Blaze, Dragalge, Mismagius, Ditto, Hawlucha, and then he lacks a last Pokemon. And then of course J-Bear has Garchomp, Cinderace, Baxcalibur, Gengar, Klefki, Rotom-Mow, Dunsparce, Heracross, Quagsire, and Drifblim. Again, I'm going to talk very objectively, very bland about this matchup because I do know a couple of different things about this matchup that I probably shouldn't know, so I'm not going to go super in-depth, but just generalizing the matchup, the Pokemon that do well and the Pokemon that do poorly. So obviously one thing you want to look at J-Bear's team, you look at Aim's team. Palafin goes absolutely ballistic. J-Bear's water resist on his team is Quagsire, which is obviously a pretty good water resist, but Palafin gets Grass Knot, it gets Boom Burst to break past a Fizz Def Quagsire. So obviously Quagsire is not the best check in the world to Palafin, and outside of that, J-Bear doesn't really have a great resist. He could bring some sort of defensive or Scarf, I guess, potentially Baxcalibur to revenge that with a potential Terra Dragon, but it's not looking good for J-Bear in the department of Palafin. He can bring Rotom-Mow. He could bring like a Scarf Rotom-Mow, I guess, to try to revenge that. And I think Scarf Rotom-Mow doesn't do horrible in the matchup, but Iron Tread's always dangerously looming there. He's going to make that a little bit difficult. On top of it, not outspeeding Espathra if he gets a speed boost. J-Bear has a very tough Palafin matchup. Obviously, Screen's Klefki can kind of mitigate that, and that's kind of what I expect from J-Bear's end, is some sort of Screen's Klefki to mitigate that Palafin. But just based on what I'm seeing right now, if Aim gets his Palafin into a position early, he just leads it, flip turns, and then it's in its hero form immediately. J-Bear is going to have a really tough time switching into this Palafin. On the other end of the spectrum though, if the Baxcalibur, he can just Terra Dragon in this matchup, in my opinion. If he gets a Dragon Dance up, it is looking deadly for Aim to try to switch into this Pokemon. He can simply be Dragon Dance, Icicle Crash, Glaive Rush, and then filler move. I guess probably Earthquake for the Iron Treads. And then he's in a really good spot. The only problem with that, he probably wants Ice Shard to revenge a potential +1 Iron Treads after a Rapid Spin, and also a potential +1 Espathra with the Speed Boost. He could also be Icicle Spear with Lead to potentially break a Meowscarada Sash. There's a lot of different options here. But the Espathra is another Pokemon that's really scary that we'll talk about in just a second. But that is one of the reasons why I don't necessarily know if Dragon Dance is the best set into Aim. You're going to have to make a really uncomfortable call and Dragon Dance in the face of a Spathra, which Baxcalibur definitely has the bulk to do. But then if you get the play wrong, he could protect the next turn and he outspeeds you. It's a whole ordeal. It's a whole ordeal of mind games for this Baxcalibur to try to win the game. But if there's ever a situation where this Baxcalibur gets into position to win, it's gonna look great for AIM. A cool set that could be brought is maybe Dragon Dance Slackberry, get the +2 and throw the Espathra off guard. But again, if he gets the double protect, it's kind of useless. So Espathra does really well making sure that this Pokemon right here, Baxcalibur, does not really have an opportunity to win, and it's a little bit tough for our boy Jaybear to set up there. And obviously there's always Ditto. I think Ditto actually doesn't have a bad matchup. Ditto would love transforming into any of these first 4 Pokemon. Obviously Garchomp plus Cinderace does really well into Jaybear's team. You look at Jaybear's team, if it turns into Cinderace, it practically claims a kill, right? Like he has to be some sort of defensive Garchomp for it to not claim a kill. Obviously you could copy the Baxcalibur stat boost. Like Ditto looks fantastic here. And then obviously the elephant in the room, Espathra. Espathra does really well into Jaybear. I think Klefki has a pretty good shot at mitigating the Espathra a decent amount. He might have to be like Lumberry Espathra in this matchup because obviously Thunder Wave is always there. Dual Screens also does pretty well into the team that AIM could bring, and just because of that he might bring Tauros Paldea Fire because Raging Bull, if you did not know, breaks screens, so that's always an option. I think AIM has a lot of different options for Pokemon that he can bring. I think Jaybear is kind of a little bit more limited because you want to bring Quagsire, maybe you bring a Rindo Quagsire, but it does so bad in the matchup otherwise. Just because of Palafin can get Grass Knot, Meowscarada, it can't do anything against a Spathra, it can push past you. It does beat Iron Treads though, which is nice. I assume it beats Iron Treads. Let's just check that real quick. Yeah, it definitely beats Iron Treads, so Quag could be brought. I don't think Quag is the worst spring in the world. I don't know, man. Like if Garchomp still got Scale Shot, Garchomp would be such a good win con here. It's tough because Jaybear doesn't really have a standard win con. I think Jaybear's top threats do fine, but I don't think he has like a good Pokemon to just throw out and be the win con because Palafin Jet Punch is always dangerously looming, and the one Pokemon that doesn't really bother is the Baxcalibur, which obviously the Espathra is always there in the back to try to revenge that with the speed boost. He's gonna have to play his Klefki really well, I think, because it's obvious Jaybear's bringing Klefki. He has to bring Klefki. He has to be some sort of, I would assume some sort of screens Klefki to be able to push past the Espathra. He could be some sort of really creative set, but I think some form of screens plus Thunder Wave, a screen plus Thunder Wave is very, very likely in the AIM's team. And obviously a fairy move to potentially hit the Meowscarada that may want to switch in on you to absorb the Thunder Wave because you're Prankster. And that's another thing. Jaybear's got to be wary about the Reflect because Meowscarada can just break through it. And Jaybear does do a fine job of offensively pressuring Meowscarada with these 3 Pokemon right here, Baxcalibur, Cinderace, and Gengar. And obviously it doesn't really want to come into Klefki, so maybe Meowscarada doesn't even come. But I don't know. I know AIM loves it, and Spike Stack is very good against Jaybear. The only thing is potential Court Change. But if he's Court Change, then he's not banded, and AIM doesn't have a great fire resist because this thing doesn't count. This Pokemon blows. You could bring Tauros, though. Tauros is probably a pretty good Cinderace check. Oh, man. Oh, man. We got the premier Cinderace check. How much does it didn't have Bud to though? I mean, that's still pretty good, man. That's not banded though, or any type of boosting item, but I do think Boots is potentially likely because of the looming hazard stack from the Meowscarada, and obviously this would be the way to quote-unquote remove hazards with Court Change. So I think it's possible that he's Boots. I think it's very possible that he's Boots. So if I had to pick 6 Pokemon for each player, I think for AIM, it's got to be Palafin Espathra. I think maybe Meowscarada. I think Tauros Paldea Blaze. I think those 4 are pretty much locked. I think it's tough to bring Iron Treads, but you might have to bring it because of the potential Spike Stack from Klefki. You might have to bring it, and also the Court Change. So I think Iron Treads is pretty likely, and then last slot, I think maybe Ditto. I think Ditto doesn't have a bad matchup at all. Because like you want to bring Sylveon, but Sylveon, it can't beat Baxcalibur. So I don't think there's any point in bringing Sylveon. Maybe he doesn't really beat Garchomp either. Like it just gets worn down so easily. Maybe if you want to pass Wishes into Tauros Paldea Blaze, I see Sylveon coming. But I think Ditto puts a stop to a lot of Jaybear's team. As far as Jaybear's Mons, I don't think it's any different than any other week. I think it's top 4 plus Klefki. It's top 5, I guess. I don't know why I just didn't say top 5. And then I think a couple of different Pokemon have merit. We could see like a Trailblaze Heracross. No, because Spathra just makes this matchup so difficult for Jaybear. He's really gonna have to pressure with Klefki. Otherwise, this matchup just looks a little tough for Jaybear. Could be some sort of Spadef to Dunsparce. How well does that deal with the Espathra? He's Terra Fighting, so we got to keep that in mind. Terra Blast. Fighting. Let's see how much that takes. Oh, Spadef. And let's see. Oh, that's no investment too. Man, no, the Dunsparce I don't think comes. I don't think the Dunsparce comes. I mean, you could get a glare off maybe, but then if he's lump for the Clef Key, maybe that makes your life a little easier. I don't know, man. Maybe you do bring Rindo Quagsire. This is a tough matchup for Jaybear, I won't lie. But I do think if he can get Baxcalibur going, maybe if he can potentially get some damage on the Espathra somehow, or just keep it in check with the Klefki, maybe he'll have a chance. He could also bring Starf Rotom. I mean, Drifloon definitely has some viability here because AIM doesn't really have a Ghost Resist. I mean, Knuckle Stack, he's not bringing Knuckle Stack, guys. So Drifloon could definitely come. I don't know what set, but I do think that I think between these 5 Pokemon, it's really tough to decide which Pokemon comes. But I think the top 5 is guaranteed, right? Like I don't think there's a universe those top 5 don't come. So at the end of the day, if I had to give this matchup to somebody, it's definitely AIM. It's definitely AIM. I think it's like a 65-35 split. I think this matchup is really tough for Jaybear, which is really interesting because I think Jaybear has the best team in the league. So it's interesting to see what he might bring in order to counteract AIM. I know Jaybear is a pretty good builder and he's getting a lot of support for this match here, so I'm very interested to see what he comes up with, what he brings, and I'm also interested to see what AIM comes up with, because obviously AIM is getting some help from some very top tier talent as far as building goes. Gypsy King, Zazo are the 2 that I know off the top of my head. I think Tone as well, so he's got a good supporting cast. Obviously Jaybear's got the support of all of his friends that have been knocked out so far. Owen, a fantastic builder, helping him out that I know of. So this is going to be an interesting matchup, and this is going to be one that I'm really interested in. Obviously, if we win, which I expect us to win because I'm very confident in our matchup, I think that there's a very good chance that AIM is our opponent just based on matchup. But I got a couple of sets in mind for either of these people if we win, so I'm ready either way. Let me know what you guys think down below. Here is, again, the playoff bracket right now. We're in the final 4 right now, guys, and hopefully your Portland Nightshaders will make it into the final 2. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen. I think it's very likely that this is what it's gonna look like, guys. So again, let me know what you think down below. Be sure to leave a like while you're down there and check out all of the BBR coaches, especially the guys that are still remaining in these playoffs. And thank you guys so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off.